Welcome to the Movie Pro Podcast.
This podcast may contain rambling, foolishness, and spoilers. Duh.
And hello, welcome to another episode of Movie Probe with me, Martin Cowan.
Wagwan, it's your boy, Stewart Ryan Cinnamon. How are we all doing today, Martin? How are you?
I'm good, yeah. I've had a good week. What about you? What have you been up to?
Just been working away, and then obviously doing the quizzes, and then watching Figo's lockdown sessions.
Of course, you do your you do your live quizzes during the lockdown, which is cool. I've done it every week. Some weeks
came close.
That is a blatant lie. There's been 2 weeks I've came second, so
okay.
That's a blatant lie. In recent weeks, I have done considerably worse.
But this week you didn't even get half.
No, I got bang on half actually.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Which is actually really poor. I'm so embarrassed I didn't even post my score.
Didn't even post his score.
Exactly. Cool.
Well, anyway. We'll get straight into it, shall we? Stu's news. I want to save as much time as I possibly can for myself because I'm a selfish boy. No, I'm not really, but
cool.
I like to talk, especially when it's my week.
Cool. So what's happening this week?
So what's happening this week on Stu's news today? The headlines. Have you seen that Jason Momoa and Peter Dinklage are teaming up to make a vampire movie called The Good, the Bad, and the Undead?
Oh, no, I haven't, but that sounds interesting. Certainly, I like Jason Momoa and I like Peter Dinklage.
But do you like vampire movies?
No. To be fair, I'm not a fan of vampire movies.
When was the last time you saw a good one? Have you ever seen a good one?
There's only one that I enjoyed, but I haven't seen it since I was a child.
Is it The Little Vampire?
Roughly a child. No. It's a film. I say a child. I must have been maybe 12 or I'm not sure exactly. I'm guessing. And I enjoyed it at the time, but it's since I've seen other critics pan it massively. So I'm going, maybe was just liked it because I was 12, and it was Van Helsing, with Hugh Jackman. I've not watched it since. I enjoyed it at the time, but I've not seen it since. So I'm not sure whether it's just me going, it was good, and I'll watch it back now, go, that was terrible. But it might be okay. But that was the last one I can remember enjoying, but I've not seen it since I was about 12. Yeah. I've never seen any of the Twilight movies, so I can't judge them.
Nope.
So yeah, but apart from that, I don't really watch any vampire movies. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how this will turn out. All I know is I like the two actors that you mentioned.
Yeah, that's it. That's probably the only reason why I brought this news to you this week, because I thought,
I appreciate it.
Not that you like vampire movies, because I don't think many people actually do like vampire movies. More the fact of the two people who are in it. So hopefully, with the two of them being very talented as they are, hopefully they'll be able to, bring something decent to the genre finally.
Yeah, I'd like to think that we can count on them.
Oh gosh.
Oh, it's a vampire joke. Sorry.
It is a vampire joke.
I couldn't resist.
Carry
on.
Speaking of things coming back from the dead, HBO Max this week announced that they are bringing the Snyder Cut of Justice League.
Yes, the legendary mystery Snyder Cut, which I don't think many people thought we would ever see.
No, it's one of those things as well. It's how much of it's, you got to think, how much of it is actually done?
Yeah, so from what I understand, he's been given something like a 30 million budget to finish it.
All right, okay.
Yeah, which is decent, but considering, depending on how much video effects has to be done, they are very expensive. So, and I also believe that they're not really going to be reshooting anything. They might just be doing voiceovers.
I think most of that money will go on VFX.
Yeah, so it's the fact that it isn't done show like that they're going to be redoing it and they've been given a budget shows that there isn't actually a cut that's already made.
Yeah. Well, apparently he had filmed pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Everything that it was going to be in the film, but it was obviously the passing of his daughter.
Yeah.
Kind of caused him to go and kind of spend time with his family, which is an admirable decision.
It's completely understandable. Yeah.
Yeah. So finally he's getting the chance to go, well, no, this is what I actually planned. And I believe it's going to be very much in the darker tone of his previous DC Universe films.
Yeah, because when Joss Whedon came on board, he then went and shot other stuff and some other random stuff, which was like for the example, like that kind of side story with that family in the house.
Yeah, the family in the house.
Which I remember people
like, why is there a family in the house?
People were messaging like hitting up Zach saying, "What was that all about?" And he goes, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about because that wasn't in the movie that I shot." So it's going to be interesting to see what. I mean, obviously, because you'll never get to exactly what his vision was going to be when you can't shoot it now, but it's going to certainly be close now that he's getting time to recut it his way and given a budget to finish it. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be one of these films that I'm going to watch and go, yeah, that was an improvement, but I still don't think I'm going to enjoy it. Considering, like, compared to Batman vs Superman, and like Man of Steel, which were both I thought were decent but not amazing. I think this Justice League Snyder Cut will be along that similar vein of that was definitely an improvement, a marked improvement from what we got. But I still don't think I'm gonna go, oh, that was as good as Endgame, or like that's not gonna happen. But I'm excited to see the differences. And I'm actually genuinely surprised that they actually got the go ahead to do it. I think
it's a big fan service thing. I mean,
100%.
We obviously at this moment in time don't get HBO Max over here.
No, we don't.
And I don't fully know all about it. I don't know if it's even launched, and so maybe this is what they're using to kind of, as a springboard to get to really rake in subscribers to their platform. Again, how we are going to get to see it in the UK, pardon me, is we don't know yet, so we can.
I would imagine
that. There, so
I imagine it's some form of streaming service or on-demand service will probably get it. It'll either be, like you say, a big Netflix exclusive or a big Amazon exclusive or something like that, or they'll just do, it's available to purchase on Amazon or where, you know what I mean?
You'll be able to buy it.
Like a buy-on-demand thing. You'll certainly be able to get it somehow here. But yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
Cool.
So yeah, it was cool. Great news.
Yep. And my very short news week. Not a lot really happening. As opposed to last week. But did you see Mad Max Fury Road?
No, it's not something I've ever seen.
Right. Okay. Well, there's a character in that Charlize Theron plays called Furiosa. And it was a very kind of empowering character for women, and a lot of people wanted to see a spin-off. And we're finally going to get that spin-off. And the two actresses who are in the lead or who are being talked about of playing Furiosa, for some reason, I don't know why, they're not going for Charlize Theron again. They're looking at Anya Taylor-Joy, who we spoke about last week.
Oh, really?
And, and Jodie Comer. She's the woman in Killing Eve. I don't know if you've seen Killing Eve.
I have not seen Killing Eve, so I don't know who she is.
Well, she's also in talks or in line to play the role. So it'll be one of them two. Both up and coming actresses, both really hitting it big over the past couple of years. I'll be interested to keep an eye on this one. Well, I recommend that you watch Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah, it's one of those films that I've always was like, oh yeah, I'll watch that at some point, and I've just so far never got around to watching it. But it does look like a film like I would enjoy. So yeah, I'll definitely get onto that film before the release of that spin-off.
speaking of films that you have never watched, there is becoming an uproar of people demanding, not asking, demanding that you watch Space Jam. I had
Yes, this is true.
Sarah Jane, who you know,
I do know Sarah Jane.
was she
Shout
was
out.
talking about the podcast. Yep, shout out, first one of the podcast. She was talking about how she listened to the Avengers podcast and she couldn't believe that you hadn't seen it. So there you
Yeah,
go. That's another
I
one
think I
on
said
the.
to you
Let's
that
start
was.
taking a tally list.
Well, I think I said to you this is the most feedback I received after the first podcast went out
Yep.
was I can't believe
Not
you've
how
not
good we
seen
were.
Space Jam. Yeah, it wasn't
Yep.
anything to do with how much anyone's enjoyed the podcast. Just I can't
Yep.
believe you've not seen Space Jam.
Yep.
So yes, there is an outcry. Right now, I've been waiting because I have a sneaking suspicion it might be on your list. I don't know whether it will be or not.
What are we doing?
I know
5 or are we doing 5 each or 10 each?
we're
I've
doing.
forgotten.
Right now, it's 5 each.
Right, okay, but we don't know how long this pandemic's still going on.
I calculated this today because apparently the minimum or the earliest that the cinemas will go back, I think, I might get this date wrong now. It is off the top of my head, but it's like the 11th of July or the 14th of July, something like that.
Oh, has that changed? That's changed from when we actually
yeah.
reported on that on Stu's News.
We did. And I read this yesterday, and I can't remember the exact date. But what I did figure out was that it on the 10th episode that we do, the next week will be like a few days after that. That was the date for the earliest one. So you never know. We could just do 10, and the cinemas might open. Who knows? Yep. But right now it's 10, 5 each. Of our top films, and then whether we continue doing that after, or whether we change it up and maybe do our 10 worst films that we hate, or something else. Who knows? The cinemas might be open by then, and if they are, we will most likely be doing instant reviews of brand new movies. So yeah, who knows? Yeah.
But anyway, instead of talking about brand new movies, let's talk about the movies that we love. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on to the movie of this week, which is Stewart Ryan Cinnamon.
The movie for this week, Martin, is going to be The Greatest Showman, which we told them last week.
Boom.
Yep, that's how it starts.
Love it. Carry on.
So what I want to do this week is this is going to be quite a serious week for me, Martin.
Oh, a serious week.
So much so, I only have one fun fact, and I'm getting it out of the way now.
Oh, okay. Okay, okay, let's get it out of the way. What's the fun fact for The Greatest Showman?
So, fun fact for The Greatest Showman is during the rehearsal process for The Greatest Showman, when they were first showing it to, I think it was a bunch of Fox producers, and they were having a sing through, and it's on video. You can go on YouTube it. Certain bits. Hugh Jackman was going through cancer treatment at the time.
That's right.
I think it was cancer. I think it was his nose he was getting treatment on.
Something like that.
Yeah, so he was told not to sing, because it would it would mess up the treatment and stuff. So they got a guy called Jeremy Jordan in, who I'm a big fan of. Musical theatre actor, brilliant singer. Fantastic voice.
Was he not on Supergirl? Yeah.
Yeah. So you've heard some of the stuff before. But anyway, they got to From Now On, which is the last full song. And it just got to the point where Hugh Jackman just kind of went, no, I need to sing this. So he got up and sang it. So that was my one fun fact.
It was a very moving. I've seen the video, and it was a very moving moment because
very emotional.
It's I forget his name, the person you've just said.
Jeremy Jordan.
Yeah, Jeremy Jordan was singing. Had started singing the song, and because also this was like a read through to try and get the movie greenlit, and it was one of these moments that they'd obviously went through the whole sort of thing and got to this point. And Hugh Jackman wasn't singing because of this, because he just had this treatment on his nose to get rid of the cancer. So it was like all stitched up, and
Yeah.
and he knew he couldn't sing, but he was so emotional with the story and the music. He just felt he had to sing. So he just sort of
Yeah.
started singing, then just took over. And this is a very rangy song. There's a note in this song which is very high, and you need to fully commit. And I believe when he
Yeah.
did it, all the stitches burst.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Yep. And I know for a fact what you're talking about. I've sung that song previously.
Yeah.
At different stuff that we've done and things like that. So I know what it feels. But I again, I'm going to talk more. I'm going to talk about the film. I'm not going to talk as much about the film as we usually do. I'm going to talk more about what the film means to me and my journey at that point. Not even at the point where it came on. Just about how I relate to it. So I mean, I've made 8 pages worth of notes on the film, but I'm probably not going to use a lot of them. So this one may be a bit bitty. It may get a bit emotional towards
That's
talking
cool.
about the film. Even watching it, there was bits where I mean, we saw it in the cinema like what? Well, I don't know about you, but I went and seen it about 5-6 times when it was in the cinema.
I certainly saw it. I think I saw it 3 times in the cinema. I think.
Which I mean, I'll repeatedly go and watch a film like Infinity War. I saw like 4 times.
Yeah.
Endgame I saw like 6 times. But a film that isn't a Marvel film, it's very rare I'll go back and watch it. But so that was kind of showed that right from the off I had that connection with the film. But anyway, I'll get stuck into the film, and then we'll talk about its meaning after that. So we'll get all the jargon and all the proper stuff out of the way, and then we'll get emotional.
Awesome.
But yeah, so right from the off, starts loud and proud, grabs your attention, with a whoa. And I remember sitting in the cinema, the first time it came on, and it was just the thumps. Yeah. So I remember that, and just how it hit that, and it just ran through you. And obviously, you seen the trailer for the film, and you thought, well, where's this music coming from? This is like set in the 19 whatevers.
And
you're like, all right, okay, this is where we're going. So I'm like, and I love how the film starts like at the peak. It shows you like the peak of his life. When they do it's everything you ever want, and then it cuts down, strips it all back, takes it all away, and then you start where it starts as him as a young boy, looking into a window, dreaming of what he wants to be, in terms of like a high. It's not even a circus performer. He just wants to be high class because he's so like
because he's as a boy he started with nothing in his
he's really poor. So there's the whole scene like when he goes into leads into A Million Dreams, where he's trying to make Charity, who ends up being his wife, laugh. He makes her laugh, and then her dad slaps him.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it wasn't even a little slap.
No.
It was nearly a punch. It was just an open hand. Boom.
Yeah, it was like, boom. But it was. I was looking at his dad, and I'm like, why did he just not react? Like, is that? And it really shows how low class they are. Because I mean, imagine what would happen if somebody hit you in front of your dad. Like, I remember being at a football game and someone turned around and said something to me. Like when I was younger, and my dad turned around and went mental at him, like almost started a fight. So why? Like that shows how low class they are. That he will let his son get beat so he doesn't lose a job.
Yeah, because that's all they have, and he needs to get money somehow. And like you say, they're so low that he can't afford to lose his job. So, to this high class person, he's willing to let that guy, like you say, smack his son in the face, and not say anything, just so he doesn't lose a job.
Yeah. So then it kind of after that kind of takes place. It kind of runs into the song "A Million Dreams," and then it kind of takes you through time. So you don't spend too much time on the backstory. You basically just get he's poor, and then it goes into his dad dies. He then runs away to the railroad because he can't get food. There's a great scene. There's a great bit in that where he's you can see he's down in his luck. He's not getting food. Like I think he goes to steal something, and then somebody gets it back off him, pushes him down,
Yeah.
and then he's offered an apple by someone who is, it's shown that they're as quote unquote like a freak.
Yeah, like they have
So
at least their face is all deformed and they have like the face
yeah,
kind of covered.
it kind of shows from the start that he kind of belongs with these people, and these people are always kind to him, despite the fact he would kind of want to stay away from them. And I think through the whole song, like when he reunites with his wife, and he has the whole conversation with her dad, being like, "Look, I've not got enough money, but I promise I'll give your daughter, as big a life as she could dream of," and all this kind of stuff. And then his dad's response is just, "She'll be back," and I'm like, "Oh, that's foreshadowing for later." But yeah, then it goes on. It shows you about how he loses his job, and it's becoming a constant thing. Like, and the song really kind of builds us to show that their relationship is it's not based on materialistic things. It's based on a pure love for each other. It's based on it doesn't matter what you're doing, and that becomes a theme way down. That becomes like a line way down the road, like when stuff starts to hit the fan. And
because it shows that she's willing to leave. She's lives as a child, brought up in this rich lifestyle, and she's willing to leave that all behind, just to be with him, no matter what they have, like financially or possessions wise. She just wants to be with him because she loves him, and she just wants to be happy making their own memories together, wherever they go on the journey. And as you say, later down the line, that comes back.
Yeah. So after they kind of sing that, you see she's pregnant, and then it cuts to again a few years later. Barnum loses another job. The whole shit where he works for the shipping company, he loses that job. But then he comes back and he sees his wife and kids playing with each other, and then it leads into this scene. Like literally, when I watched it, the last night, when I watched it, it was the lamp where he makes the lamp and out of
yeah.
So and
just
he calls
out of what's
it
in
a
his
wishing
suitcase.
machine. Yeah, and he calls it a wishing machine, and I just think it's so beautiful that he has that kind of relationship, and the kids are so like enamored with what he does. Like he talks, like it's the first kind of sign of this Barnum humbug that they all talk about. And then you get that heartbreaking thing where she one of the daughters is like, "Oh, I want to marry Santa Claus," and then the other one's like, "Oh, I wish for ballet slippers." Now, obviously, the first one and is kind of like it's a joke. It's an evident pie in the sky wish. And the second one, as a little girl, it seems like very kind of like a realistic thing. But him and his wife just look at each other, being like,
well, I think also in that is
so like disappointment, like that they can't provide that for her.
Because I think the kid it's a deliberate. I'm more or less I'm asking for because it's like I wish for ballet slippers, and it's almost then a look at them like, can I have like that's what I want.
And, like, oh.
And obviously at this point in the film as well, he's just lost his job because their companies went under. So it's just this look of what we can't afford. At this point, so and it's as you say, it's a real sore point, heartbreak, pretty much, especially for him, that he can't provide the life that he wants to provide for his kids and his family at this point in the film.
So I mean, at that point, after that, he goes to the bank to try and get a loan to open something. He starts getting ideas, and he gets the money, and he does it really smart. Like what I noticed this time watching it is how smart he is at twisting stuff, and like the whole Barnum humbug thing. I think is like this is the first time I've really actually sat back and appreciated it. Like for example, when he goes to the bank, he's like, "Oh, I've got all these deeds for like ships and stuff like that. You can have them if this fails," and then they obviously take that as collateral, but what they don't know is these ships are already sunk, so it's worthless collateral anyway. So then obviously they open the museum. It's a bit of a dud. So then obviously they have the scene where it's like, "Oh, you need something that's more alive." So then he kind of sets off in this journey and remembers seeing the Tom Thumb character in the bank the first time and going, right,
Yeah,
okay, I can
yeah,
maybe do something with him. So he's the first one he goes and interviews. He interviews him, gets him to come on board by being
yeah.
noticing he's,
And I think
he
there's
wants to be a
also
soldier.
yeah, because I think there's that Barnum humbug in there as well with him, because he first goes in and says to him, "Oh, what I put on a show, and I want you to be the star."
Aye,
And he says to him,
aye,
"Oh, you just want people to laugh at
they're
me."
gonna laugh at me.
And the first thing he
Aye,
says is, "Well, they're laughing anyway. You may as well get paid." To which he then
yeah,
storms, goes back into his room, and he's not interested. And then he
yeah.
spins this story, which
Aye,
does
he
partially
sees
come
the figure
true.
on the floor.
Oh yeah, he sees the figure on the floor, picks it up, and he's like, "Oh, I see a soldier, and um, wearing the finest uniform, and you'll be on horseback, and they won't be
Yeah,
laughing, they'll be saluting." Which, although he does make that into his character, that was never his initial intention. His intention was
no,
just come, get paid, and be in my show. So he then has
yeah,
to spin something to get him on board, and I think he does that with well, with especially with certainly with some of them,
yeah,
certainly spinning some kind of story to get them on board. Whether his intention
yeah,
is to create a proper show, a proper family, or just to create something to make money.
yeah. But then he goes on, and the kind of ones they spend a lot of time on are Tom Thumb, the bearded lady who
Yeah,
he hears singing out from out in the street, because somebody puts him onto it, being like, "Oh, if you want freaks, I know where there's one." And so he goes and obviously hears her singing, whips the washing back and sees her there with a beard, and he's like, it's almost like his eureka moment. He's like, "Oh, I've got." It's almost like he sees his star. He's like, "I've got a star now.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
this is the woman. I'm gonna build it around her." Kind of thing, because she is the voice and the amazing voice she's got. And then it kind of moves more into an interview setting. So I'll just kind of list them off. So the first one that comes in are the trapeze artists WD and Ann Wheeler, featuring you know who
my girl
your
Zendaya.
girl Zendaya. Oh, she is
As
something
you
else in this movie.
as you well know, I have a bit of a thing for
Yeah,
Zendaya. She's certainly someone that I certainly have grown to fancy quite a lot.
yeah.
But
So
especially in this film.
yeah. So there's her and him. Then there's the tattooed man, Dog Boy, the world's heaviest man, which is the one I like when he comes in and he's like, "How much do you weigh?" And he's like, 500 pounds. He's like, 750 pounds. And he goes, "You gotta do." I like, yeah,
I love that bit
brilliant.
as well. And then it
And then
immediately
it's
cuts to the
the giant.
posters. So it cuts the
Yeah,
posters
yeah.
and
It
it's
cuts to the
just like
posters of
the
each one.
£750 man.
Yeah. And then lastly, you get the Irish giant, and then he's like, "Oh, what's your name?" And then he says something. Evidently, he's like French or something like that, and he
Well,
goes,
or Russian.
"I
It's
think
something
you're
weird. It's
Irish."
like, it's a zebra photograph. And he goes,
Yeah,
yeah, we're going to change that. I
and
think
it's
you're Irish. The Irish
yeah,
giant.
and it's just bang, Irish giant. Yeah. So then obviously that comes into Come Alive. And I love Come Alive. It's one of my favorite songs in the whole thing.
Mm.
I love how at the start it kind of shows that he's a bit of the puppet master. He's getting the giant taller. He's putting
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thing
yeah.
up the guy's shirt. It's like this. He's like showing them this is what you all have to do to make it here. And I love one of the great things is that I love when folk when they first go out or they kind of fall out of the curtain and they see all the people there and all the people are like, "Oh my goodness, oh like oh they're freaks," and all this kind of stuff, and it's a smile of two children that really kind of give them the courage
Yeah, it gives
to
them the
go out and do
confidence
what
at
they
that
do.
point to actually we can do this, because
Yeah, like
it's
when
like say those two kids look at them not in a case of, "Oh, you're freaks." They look at them in a case of
yeah,
almost like wonder, like, "Oh, who?" And
yeah,
then yeah, and they almost
wow, that's
and then
different, wow,
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
Then obviously in the middle of the song it kind of shows that there's tension starting to build between the townspeople and
Mm.
the oddities as such, because they're getting people. There's a scene where they're walking through and there's a guy shouting, "Oh, go home," and all that through the middle of it. And I remember watching it, and uh, Barnum as well, like at this point it's still continuing to show his genius, where he comes in and they read the review and they see the review and it's a very negative review,
Yeah.
and he's like, uh, just the ingenious decision of, right, go out and offer half price for anyone who comes bringing this paper.
Yeah, he's able to spin it.
He understands that all publicity is publicity. There's no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah.
Because people will come, it's a freak show, which people say is bad. Obviously, they're going to come and see that because it's mental.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as you read that review, that this thing is, like, say, freaks and whatever, the first thing people are going to do is go, whoa, that's suddenly interesting. And then to have the offer right next to that saying, if you bring this paper in, it's half price per ticket, suddenly your sales go through the roof because people are going, I'm going to see that. What is this show?
Yeah.
So I just say it's that genius again from Barnum.
Yeah, so at the end of the song, you kind of see Barnum's love for applause starting to come through, because it's when the end and he's kind of looking around and it kind of all kind of quietens down a bit, and you're seeing everyone's reaction. You can see how he's taking it in, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm the dogs here. Like, I'm the star of this. This is fantastic."
Yeah, it's the moment when the song finishes, and in the film it just cuts to, it's like silence, and the camera pans to like the crowd going wild, but you can't hear them for a second, and then it fades in to this, and it's just like that second of him taking it all in and like, wow, people love me, and then the noise comes in.
Yeah, so it then I've just written here Barnum sass, because it moves on to the scene where he first kind of has a tete-a-tete, as they call it, with the reviewer, and he totally sasses him by going, "Oh, that word circus, yeah, I liked it," and then it just pans out and he's called his circus a circus, basically.
Yeah, the sign on it says P.T. Barnum Circus.
Yeah, rather than it being like Museum of Oddities. Say P.T. Barnum Circus. I think it's incredible. I mean, then it kind of moves into the first inkling that, you know, he's always trying to reach to prove a point. He's always reaching to prove a point. Like, he goes and buys the house next to our parents or something like that. And she turns and says, "So did you just buy this house to rub my parents' nose in it?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, that's one of the reasons." And then moves into the whole, he's bought his daughter a house, like a ballet, a dollhouse, and then he buys his daughter ballet slippers. It then transitions into her doing ballet. And then after the show, she's kind of getting picked on because of where she comes from. And he then, obviously, he's caught that. He then sees that, is this still what people think of me? That I'm not, you know, I'm not class. I'm not a classy guy. I'm selling a dream. I'm dirt still. I'm still poor. I'm still, I'm not seen as an equal to those in that world as such.
Yeah, because it comes off the back of his daughter then saying, "Oh, I'm gonna quit," because she's obviously been picked on. And when he tries to encourage her to say that you're the best dancer on that stage, I know how to see talent. She then hits him with something that clearly really hurts him by saying, "Oh, it takes years of practice to do ballet. It's not like the circus. You can't just fake it." And that's what really stings him. Of his own daughter can see that what he's doing is just faking, like what people would describe as real talent, because it's just using freaks and oddities and bending and what he's saying. Like, for example, like, "Oh yeah, the 750-pound man is only 500 pounds or something," and the giant, even though he's tall, gets put on stilts, and all of these oddities are changed somehow to play up that fact. So it's in that sense faking everything. So that really does hit him there and that obviously leads on to when he meets Jenny Lynn, to want to bring something genuine to his show.
Yeah. It kind of tries many different things. So the next thing it kind of does is, I've written here, enter Zephron, which is Zac Efron, who is,
he was so good in this film.
Well, that's how I remember. That's how I watched back and went, "Oh yeah, he's fantastic here." But you know, he's from that highbrow world that Barnum wants to be a part of, but but he hates it. Zac Efron's like the opposite from Barnum. He wants to be in the circus where Barnum wants to be the other way about. So they both kind of get each other in that way, but they're both opposites.
Yeah.
So it then leads into the other side, which we've performed, you
We
and
have
I.
performed that.
We've done that. We rewrote it and performed it. And I made a wee side note here, but the bartender in that
Oh,
scene
I
is
have that in my notes as well.
fantastic.
Literally just have
He's so
the bar
funny,
scene.
but without saying
And
anything.
yeah, he's amazing. And I don't know if you know this or not, but the bartender was actually the dance choreographer for that scene.
No, I didn't know that. No.
So yeah, so
There you go.
there you
Who
go.
says it's not going to be fun facts this
There you
week?
go.
You've
Fun
brought them.
fact by my good self. And
Yeah.
I don't even know. I heard this recently, and I can't remember where I heard it from. But I believe it was either from Zac Efron or Hugh Jackman. I know, but I certainly know it's true that
Yeah.
it was the dance choreographer who
Yeah.
was the bartender. I don't know if it's because it's so complex that they needed someone to know the beats precisely, and it's the guy who choreographed it. But he is amazing.
Yeah, what I noticed as well. It's the whole even relationship with the two of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Like and the chemistry with the two of them. So obviously, if he's the choreographer, he was going to have worked with them two for like ages.
Yeah, exactly.
So I felt that they had like watching it and going, they couldn't have just hired an actor off the street to do that.
Yeah.
It had to be someone who had spent a lot of time with these two, and it came across that way to me. That's what I kind of got from it, is that guy had to, either they rehearsed it loads, which they probably did anyway, but it had to be someone who knew them or had spent time with them.
The fact that scene was amazing, and the fact that everybody talks about how amazing the bartender was, just shows you how precise he was with everything that he was doing to set up. Everything he was doing was to complement the other two characters.
Song.
It was all a complimentary thing to aid everyone else, but he'd done it so well, and it was done so cleverly that it actually stole the show.
Yeah. There's another bit in it that I really like. It's before Zac Efron kind of like teases the idea, is when they both put their scarves on at the same time.
Yeah, that was cool.
Now, people are like, oh, that's just them putting the scarves on. I like to like pick it apart and think a bit deeper than that. To me, that bit is where that is a physical sign of them being shown to be on the same wavelength. And I think because that's the first time you kind of see it. So if you notice, from that point, he puts the scarf on. They then sing together after that, which again is like it's a musical way of showing you're in unison. Is singing with each other, singing the same tune as each other.
Because when the scarves go on, they go on the exact same way at the exact same time, and it's just the moment in the song before they get into the, well, that's intriguing, so to go would cost the greatly, that bit.
In fact, I think it's after that, is it not?
No, it's just before.
You're right.
When they put it on, because I'll leave that up to you, and he just as they're doing that, they kind of put the scarves on at the same time, and then as they sing that, they take them back off again and do the whole face off. Where they then debate,
and that's when they do the
price.
He pours the shots. He's pouring the shots to the 15, maybe. I do 9, 10. Yeah. So then,
carry on.
Then obviously he takes him to the circus, shows him everyone, and then you get that slow motion shot where he meets Zendaya. How I imagine you see Zendaya when she appears in anything. It's just that slow motion shot where she's reaching from.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
I'm going, yeah, I feel it.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie.
That was flying at me in slow motion.
Exactly, I'm the exact same, and I'm not gonna lie. I'm very happy that Zendaya joined the MCU, because it means I get to see her in Marvel things as well. So far, she's been in both of the Spider-Man movies, Spider-Man movies. And yeah, she's very sassy in that. And I don't know what it is about her. There's just something about her that clearly a lot of people find very attractive. So yeah, I don't know why I'm very emphasizing this point, but
you spoke a lot about Zendaya in this podcast. I mean, I know she's in the film, but you spoke a lot about your love for Zendaya in this podcast.
I don't know why. I think it's just this. I think if there was,
you're that enamored.
Yeah, I think if you had to say who's your number one sort of like movie famous crush, for me it probably would be her. I hope I never meet her now, because if she hears this and then meets
you wouldn't know what to do.
I would never live it down. Oh, so anyway, But big.
Anyway.
Anyway, we'll move on.
Then we get the one of my favorite lines in the whole show is everyone's got an act. So obviously she asks Zac Efron's character, "Oh,
Yes,
what's your act,
yes.
Mr. Carlisle?" And he's like, "An act? I don't have one." And then she's like, "Everyone's got an act." So yeah, I don't know why I like that line. I just like it. But then we move on, and you start to see the crowds are actually getting bigger. Like the crowds that are protesting against them are
Yeah,
getting bigger.
yeah,
Which is a little worrying sign of things to come. And then we move into where Zac Efron's character really shows his kind of hoity-toityness, where he gets them booked with the Queen of England,
yeah.
gets them an audience with the Queen.
Queen Victoria.
And there's a bit, in fact, there's another bit that happens in there that's one of my favourite scenes. I probably could have ranked my favourite scenes, but I didn't this week, is when she says to, the bearded woman says, "Oh, Mr. Bennett, I'm blushing," and then the wee lassie pops up with a beard on, and she's like, "No,
No,
I'm
I'm
blushing."
blushing.
And I'm just like, "Oh, that wee lassie's hilarious." Like, there's a bit at the end where she's like, where they're doing the ballet dance, and then it's like she's just a tree.
Ah,
Like, her
that bit
sister's
makes
like
me
doing the
smile.
like ballet
Normally,
dance,
normally by
and
that
she's like the
point,
tree.
yeah. Normally by that part in the movie, I get quite emotional at that point in the film,
Yeah,
just because the whole journey that you go on with the characters and with him and with their family, and then it's just that point of the film. It's sort of the end. I don't want to jump ahead to the end
yeah,
yet, but there is
yeah.
that point where she's dressed up as the tree, and it warms my heart.
Yeah, so then obviously they goes to the Queen. Now this is where the tension actually starts between Barnum and the performers.
Mm.
I don't know if you pick up on this, but it's when they're coming round, and I never really picked up on it until this time round, and is when WD says to, I think he kind of says it as an aside to everyone, and he's like, "Why are we not in coattails?" And then they're like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
yeah,
because you're the
yeah.
entertainment." Like it's like you can start to see that they're almost becoming like his pets. They're almost becoming like Barnum's pets as such because
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah.
"Well, I'm on this level, but you're on this level," and
Yeah,
he's
it starts
starting
to
to pull
create an
away.
us and them as
Yeah,
opposed to what it seemed like before, which was a us thing. Like I'm putting on a
yeah,
show and we're all in this together and this is us. And then as you say, he
yeah,
starts to put this separation in of I'm actually the leader and I'm the guest and you're the entertainment with who's
yeah,
coming with me. And as you say, it does start to put that in. And I hadn't really thought about that either at that stage, but now that you bring it up, it certainly does. It's kind of the first. It's the thin end of the wedge between him
yeah,
and his oddities, as the
yeah,
Englishman says.
yeah. So but then obviously they meet the Queen. This Tom Thumb says something funny. You're not really
I
reaching.
yeah
You're not exactly
yeah.
reaching for the top shelf yourself. Then they
Funny
go
scene.
to like a wee after party, and that's where we meet Jenny Lind.
Never
Um,
enough.
yep. So you can see that Barnum like instantly is like, "This is my ticket.
Yeah,
If this is who the Philip says she is, this is my ticket." So he's instantly like he's that driven to it. He books her without ever hearing her sing or anything. He books her, and it goes to that. And he's so afraid that it actually comes to when it comes to the gig. He's so afraid of that image of him being the circus guy or the working class guy that he hides his troupe. Like
yeah.
obviously they come in. Zac Efron says to him, "Oh, where should we uh, put the guys basically?" And he's like, "Oh, should we put them in your box?" And he's like, "No, no, no, no.
Yeah,
My box
they're
isn't
too
great.
visible there.
They're too visible there. How about we put them in standing room? Standing room's probably the best."
Yeah,
And if you know anything about standing room in a theater, it's like right at the back, way out the way,
yeah, and
like so they can't be seen.
and he put. I'm pretty sure he says something along the lines of, "Oh yeah, that's the best audio" or something like, but which is
Yeah, yeah,
clearly a lie just to get them somewhere that's out of sight because he doesn't want to be seen as the circus guy.
yeah. So this is kind of the turning point in the whole show. This is where it kind of Barnum kind of gets lost.
Yeah,
Um, and loads of stuff happens in this stuff, which actually, despite the fact of it being like a beautiful song and all that, it's very like negative towards the end of it, because you have the Barnum, you can see it, like when she's singing, he's like, oh my goodness, I've hit the jackpot. He's in love, but not with her. He's in love with like the idea of where she's going to take him.
Yeah.
And you know, his wife sees that, and you can see the instant worry that's on her face. I don't know if she's worried because he sees that this is where she's going to take him, or she's worried whether he catches her looking like that and it's like, oh my goodness, he's in love with this woman, or whatever. But I always thought he's never in love with her. He's just in love with what she can bring him.
Yeah. And I think the words of that song is really clever because it hammers home that exact point. I think it's all the stars of 1,000 spotlights. No, all the shine of 1,000 spotlights, all the stars we could steal from the night sky will never be enough. Towers of gold are still too little. These hands could hold the world, and it'll never be enough. It really hammers home the whole concept of this movie, which is no matter how much he's gonna gain, no matter what achievements he gets, no matter how much riches he gets, it'll never be enough to him because he doesn't have. There's no end goal of this is what I'm looking for. He's just always striving to be more than what he is, and not accepting or realizing that what's in front of him and where his happiness and the true treasures of life are, which of course is his family. So it's a really clever song that hammers home these points quite early on before we get to the point in the film which things go proper downhill.
Well, also at that point, Zac Efron I keep calling him Zac Efron. His character's name's Philip, and I do know that. Philip Carlyle then goes to hold hands with Anne. Goes to hold hands with Anne Wheeler. Then when someone spots him, he lets go instantly. So it shows that he's still fighting that battle within himself. So like I say, it's a very negative tone, despite, you know, Barnum getting what he wants at the end of the song. It then flips to the after party, and you can see he's totally reveling in the attention. He's reveling in the approval he's getting from the critics and Charity's parents to a sense. But then there's his daughters appear, and he goes, "Oh yeah, that's your grandkids that you've not seen, etc., etc." And then he goes to kick them out, and then Charity's dad says something which just sums him up completely. It's like all that fortune and still just a tailor's boy.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's got a cut.
And you can see in his face that it cuts him really deep because he knows in his heart that it's true.
Yeah.
And he immediately just says, "Get out." But you can see immediately he's trying to put on this big gloating show in front of all of his new friends, saying like to show how amazing he is and how you said I wouldn't achieve anything, and in that one statement cuts him down and embarrasses him in front of all his friends.
Yeah. And then he has an argument with Charity. She runs off, and he doesn't chase after her. Doesn't chase after his wife.
He doesn't.
So that to me that starts to show the turn, that this is where the turn's happened. That he's fully in this dark side. Well, I'm with the people who I want to be with. And then even Jenny tries to like sway him, because she comes up and she's like, you know what? They don't know what it's like. I was born out of wedlock, so I'm just like you, kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
it creates that connection between them two of I'm like you and we're both successful.
And then the final stamp on it to show the turn, to show the heel turn, is that he doesn't let the troop in, and he just bats them off because he knows what they'll look like. So then it goes into the what I've put the emotional center of the film, which is This Is Me. So it's like they've all started to become their own entity, and they realized, you know what, it doesn't matter who I am. People are going to treat me this way. People are going to treat me that way. But I am me. And if you can't accept that, then stuff you, essentially. Because I mean, there's a bit in it towards the end where Zendaya or Anne is dancing, and then she does the This Is Me, but she does it like with force and looking up at Zac
dead
Efron
in the eye at Zac Efron.
Yeah.
And giving it the "This is me," and I'm clearly very upset with you that you let go of my hand, and that you're embarrassed to be.
I accept
with,
who I am. Why
yeah,
can't you accept who I am?
Yeah. You're not accepting who I am because you're embarrassed to want to be with someone who is black.
Yeah.
And obviously in those days, when it was set, there was so much racism going on back then, to to an unbelievable extent, that really hammers it home that she's like, "Whoa, I'm accepting who I am, but you won't."
Yeah. Why can't you? Yeah. So that then leads to Barnum making the announcement to Philip, Zac Efron, that he's going on tour with Jenny, and this is where he starts to make horrible decisions.
Yeah.
And he tells him that Zac Efron even tells him that things aren't going well at the circus. You need to take care of back home. And
yeah, it's at that point he really.
He's like, people.
Sorry.
Yeah, people come to see you. He says when people come to see you, they don't come to see the show. They come to see you. They're not, because he tells them, he's basically saying to Zac Efron, "Oh, you can do what I can do," but it's like, no. People are coming to see you. People are coming to see the show that you put on because you're the humbug. You're the showman as such.
Yeah, and it's at that point in the film as well. It really shows that Barnum doesn't actually care about these people anymore. He's found something bigger and better, so he's just like,
he's got what he wanted. Yeah.
So he doesn't. He's like, "Oh, the circus isn't doing as well as it should be," and he's just like, "Yeah, just fix it. Just get people coming back. Yeah, just say this. Put a smile on your face. Whatever. I'm gonna go and do this. Whatever huge tour of Europe or the world or whatever it is.
America. It's just America.
Which I think he says they wouldn't even make a profit on it until the 41st show. But he's still planning on making a fortune off the back of that. So I don't know how many dates were like in the diary, but it's clearly a huge tour. But what they would need to do, like you say, do the first 41 shows just to break even. Which is, like you say, and proves to be a terrible decision to have to go to the bank to be able to get that money, to put that money down. So as you say, another terrible decision by Barnum at this point.
Yeah. So then they go to Philip and Anne end up at the theatre together, and they run into Philip's parents. They're very negative towards the relationship, and then this is when you get the full turn from Zac Efron's character, where he becomes what is known as a face, where he's become a good guy, and it's like, he says to his parents, "If this is my place, I don't want it. I don't want any part of it." Sorry, which then leads into Rewrite the Stars, which I've just written steamy.
Well, I've got Rewrite the Stars down as my favorite film, my favorite song in this. I love that. Probably, carry on.
I just wrote steamy. That's all I had to say in it. I think by this point I was going, I've written a lot of notes. Then I've written Jenny is now trying it on with Barnum, which then is the kind of snap for him, because obviously the way that he's playing her is like he loves her, but it's not that he loved. Like I said before, it's not that he loves her. He loves what she's brought him.
Yeah.
So she tries to kiss him, and he backs off and is like, no, that's not what this is about. So he's like, he's going to end the tour because he doesn't feel the same way, or he's going to leave the tour. Sorry, because it's becoming awkward. Like that he's.
Yeah, he says he becomes a distraction.
She's feeling this way. Yeah, and it ends up ruining both of them. And it shows that the fact is, it's always been more about him than it was about her or the music or anything. It was more about what she brought to him, like I've said repeatedly. Then obviously she does her last performance, kisses him.
No,
I've written here, Jenny kiss ... Uh-oh.
Well,
obviously,
yeah,
all the cameras there, all the press take it.
Well, I've written down in my note for that bit, the cow when she kisses him to get back at him for not cheating on his wife with her. That's what I've got in my notes, because I'm even though obviously what Petey has done to get to this stage he's put himself in a really crap position. So some people would say that he deserved it. However, I would never, even if he deserved it, I still think how, I still just think what a cow to do that, to go, well, you're not going to be with me, so I'm going to ruin your marriage and ruin your career by kissing you on stage in front of all these people, all the reporters, in front of the world.
Where she knows there'll be a reaction.
Yeah. I'm just like, what a cow. So I was not happy with her at that point.
So then it flashes back to the circus. Big fights broken out between the circus people and the townspeople who were protesting them. One of them then goes and sets the circus on fire. And then at this point I've written Barnum has lost it all, and maybe even Philip too. This goes on to what I think is the best acting scene, or the best dramatic scene in the whole film, is the fire and him going in to save Zac Efron and all the stuff that happens around that.
Yeah, because Zac Efron runs in because he thinks that Anne's in there, which after he runs in, it's revealed she's not. And like you say, PT has to then run in to save him. And as soon as he runs in, the building collapses. And at first you're like,
everyone's like,
oh no, they're dead. And then thankfully he walks out with Zac Efron in arms.
I've written here, Philip is the true star of this film, man. And then I've written Philip saved, and then it shows you a couple of times later the Rewrite the Stars that Zendaya sings in the hospital.
Yeah.
Oh, it's heart wrenching.
Yeah. Oh, it gets me every time. Gets me every time.
Yeah. We then flip back to the rubble that he's sat in, and then again it's one of my favourite shots of the film, with him just sat there with all this ruin around him, and the critic comes up and he kind of has a heart-to-heart with him, and he goes, I never really liked your show, but he liked that it kind of brought joy to everyone else. And then one of his favourite things is some critic would maybe have even called it a celebration of humanity.
Yeah, exactly.
At this point, it then comes out in the paper. He then finds out in the paper that his kiss came out, and his wife found out.
Yeah.
So
and also that Jenny has quit the tour. He doesn't know that at this stage.
Yeah.
Because he literally says to the reporter, "Oh, it's fine. We've made enough money off of the tour, so we'll be able to borrow off of that. We'll be fine."
And then you haven't heard?
Yeah. Oh, you haven't heard? She's quit. Like she said she was gonna. Yeah. And like you say, he even said to her, after he turned her down, that you can't leave the tour. You'll ruin me, because he's in so much debt over this tour that they have to do it for him to make any money. Well, and they clearly haven't done it.
Then we move into From Now On. I cry every time I hear this. I'm going to speed through this now because I know we're getting on a bit. I think the song's incredible. I'll talk about it more when I talk about what the film means to me. We find out Zac Efron's alive. Barnum runs off to save his family. And I love that when he gets to the kids grassing, they grass the grandpa and they're like, yeah, she's at the beach.
She's at the beach!
So there you go. Yeah. And then one of the things Barnum says to his wife is, I wanted to be more than I was, which I've just written here, hits different, man. It hits different.
Yeah. It's when, I think it's one of the most truest moments in the film for him, is when he's just like, I wanted to be something I wasn't.
Yeah. So then we've got him going back after he's won his wife back. They have a wee sing song, and he goes back and he's talking to the circus people, and then obviously Zac Efron's came back, he's alive, and then it has that one of the lines that he says that I loved is, all that's left is friendship, joy, and a job that I love. So he then says, the 10% that I've been taking every week from the show, I've saved up, let's do it again. And then they decide to do the circus in a tent rather than a building, because real estate in Manhattan is a terrible idea. And I've just written, the circus is back, baby! So Barnum heads off, leaves the show to Philip. And I've written down here, at this moment in time, I don't know why, but I've written down, the world needs this film now. Like, in terms of everything that's going on. I don't know why I've written it, but I've written it saying the world needs this film now.
I think it's a film that really emphasizes the value of people who are different. And it really shines a spotlight on discrimination, especially back
Yeah,
then, but it echoes what's still going on today. That
yeah,
people who are seen to be different are discriminated against, and it really highlights the fact that actually people like that still have value, just maybe in a different way to what
yes,
is socially um, thought of as normal.
yeah. So the final two notes I've written is he sat there watching his family, and then the last lines he says is, "It's everything you ever want, it's everything you ever need, and it's here right in front of you." And that ends the film to show that he's finally happy. All he needed was his family, and there they are. And then it comes up at the end, one of my favourite quotes of all time, and something that I stand by and I live by is the noblest art is that of making others happy. And that is my review of The Greatest Showman.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna
amazing
do a
film.
short, yeah, I'm gonna do a short kind of talk about like why I picked it more than anything. I know we're kind of pushing the time, but hey ho. So the reason I picked it is that I emotionally connected from with this film on such a level that was ridiculous. It's impacted me more than a film ever has. People might not say it's a fantastic movie, but personally, for me, it's a very emotionally connective movie. I kind of went through that phase where you lose what's important to you by chasing something you think is important or chasing something that to prove a point. So obviously there's as you'll know, there's times in my life where I went away from for people who don't know, like church is a really important part of mine and Martin's life.
Yeah,
We're both involved in different ministries. We're both involved in different areas, like really involved. And I went away to Carlisle for uni, and just kind of fell apart. My relationship with my friends in church, my relationship with folk around church, or like positions I was given in church, where it all just kind of fell apart. Like when the circus falls apart, it all kind of ended up in ruin. I completely lost who I was, because I was too busy chasing this goal of um, being not being a drama guy, but being like a guy, losing the importance of friends and family, and but kind of following after girls and following after fame and fortune and things that didn't really matter. I became cocky. I became um, very much not a likable person, and then kind of really turned the people who meant the most to me against me throughout what I did, and when I was away, and even before that, like when I was at college. So even through the whole period, it was being away for so long and following things that weren't right for me, or weren't what I should have been chasing, or it ended up putting me into like a real kind of dark depression. I remember it was like not depressed. I wasn't depressed. Um, I was never diagnosed as being depressed. But it was a real deep sadness when my last relationship ended, because I put
yeah,
so much importance
yeah,
in that relationship that it really, it drove me to the point of um, really, really thinking bad things. And it was really the love of people and the people around me who kind of, got me back through that, and brought it to me. And then at that point you start to realize the people who uh, are really there for you, and the people who mean the most to you will always be there for you, and will always stick out for you, even no matter how many times you mess up, or no matter what you do. To then come back, get everything kind of back on track, but still there was little elements of still losing it and things like that. And for me, it was all about connecting with that turn of losing yourself in things that weren't important or shouldn't be important,
yeah,
and taken for granted, and making almost a mug out of people or things that were going great in your life, um, ministries that you were a part of, and really kind of disrespecting all those things, to then get to the point where you reach the end of yourself because, you know, it's not what you wanted. Like, you didn't want to be part of that crowd. Like, you didn't want to be an actor to be an actor. You didn't want to chase girls to, well, you know, teenage boys, I'm going to chase girls, like, but I shouldn't have made it as like a priority as I did. But obviously that came from the relationship. So then breaking up in that relationship, then losing myself, and then, you know, then kind of being not me, being someone else, someone who searched after the wrong things. And then you get to that point where, like I said, where you reach the end of yourself and you just break and you just look around you and it's like the circus, it's everything's broken and you're literally left on your own with nothing.
Yeah.
And that's why from now on is such, if you were going to sum up my life and my journey or my teenage to early 20 years, it would be summed up in that song. It's like, I saw the sun begin to dim and felt like when a wind blow cold. A man, what's it? A man learns who is there for him when the glitter fades and the walls won't hold. And from that rubble, what remains can only be what true. Like, it's ridiculous, like how on the money that song is for me.
Yeah.
And my life, like chasing after the fame, chasing after the girls, chasing after the money, chasing all these different things, which, well, when all that's gone, what remains can only be what's true, like the song says.
Yeah.
And it's that, and we will come back home, and we will come back home. And that is just, even now, I listen to that song, like, it's a soundtrack that I don't go to often because I don't like to be taken back to that place. But it's a song that, when that kicks in, I just cry. Like, it just takes me, like, not at sad crying, like, it's just that overwhelming of the greatness of people and the greatness of God, and how you can come back home, and everything be fine, and you know, there's home is a place where everything's warm and stuff like that. And I mean, one thing that's really annoyed me is I've never been able to sing it in public without something like being wrong. I've never felt like I've done it justice, because when I did sing it, when we did it, the extravaganza, or when I did it at extravaganza, I had a throat. That was the year I had a throat infection.
Right. That's right.
So but you could see there was a point at it where I went, do you know what? This doesn't matter if it sounds rotten, doesn't matter if I can't sing it. I'm singing this song. This song is a release.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously it means so much to you.
Yeah. Eventually, I'd like to do it again and do it justice. I don't know what my vocal range is for that nowadays, but yeah, it's a film that's really meant so much for me. It really summed up my life at that point, and that's why it's so important to me, and that's why it's such an emotional movie for me to watch. That's why it's in my top 10, despite the fact people may not think it's a great movie, or my top 5 or whatever. Despite the fact people might not think it's a great movie, for me it's more than that. It's more than a movie. It's almost like an autobiography. Like, it's almost like an autobiography of what's gone on, and just that.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of
that last song.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of aspects of this film that you can look at and see almost like mirrored in your journey. So I can totally understand how a movie like this really hits hard for you. Because as you said, you obviously when you did go away to study musical theatre, you did go to a really dark place. And thankfully you've obviously came back from that. And changed things around, and your life's completely different now. But as you say, this film really does show that journey of striving so much to get somewhere, and then everything falling so far apart to you've got nothing left, and then realize
you lose sight of why you were going there in the first place. Yeah,
and then, as you say, in the film, in the song, it says, and when I stop and see you here, I remember what all this was for. And for you, I suppose, I mean, only you can answer, but for you, I'd imagine that a line like that you must have got to a point where you suddenly had this realization that this is not what you suddenly remembered why you were there in the first place, or what you were doing
Yeah.
was for a reason, and you'd lost sight of that. Which
Yeah.
which you
I mean, yeah. I mean, I didn't write anything down for this bit. So that's why it's a bit all over the place and stuff, because I didn't write it down, but because I don't, when I speak from the heart, I never want to write it down, because I think when you start to write stuff down, when you're trying to speak from the heart, it becomes a bit, not genuine. But I reckon if I took the lyrics from now on, I could literally pinpoint
yeah
areas of parts of my life,
Yeah.
or parts of that period of time where what that means to me, or
Yeah.
what that line means to me,
Yeah.
or what that, and all that kind of stuff, because it's, I mean, you know me, obviously, but it's like I am an entertainer,
Yeah.
just naturally,
Yeah.
I'm just, without blowing smoke up myself, I'm just a natural kind of entertainer. I don't mind it. I thrive off of an audience as such, and it's, I mean, I'm not going to say it was all bad, because it wasn't all bad. There was so much stuff I learned about myself, and about life and stuff, which has really grown me and has really helped me in a position, because obviously, I'm part of, one of the youth leaders at the church, and one of the main ones as such, one of the core ones is we're branded as such, and how important that is to have gone through that, to share that experience with young people, and to bring joy to them through almost like teaching them the right way stuff, or not the right way, but teaching what not to do. And the entertainment side of it is obviously a part of what brings them joy, because I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what really I should have went there for. That's why the quote, the noblest art is that of making others happy, means so much to me, because that's what I want to do. That's how I now want to spend the rest of my life, is make others happy. And I know, people are like, oh, you can't make people happy all the time, but you can try.
Yeah,
You
I think
can
yeah,
try
and I
and
think
make
there's a
people
difference
happy.
between pleasing people, because you shouldn't always look to
Yeah.
people please, but bring joy and
No.
happiness to people is the difference to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, to make people happy is always a good thing.
Yeah. And for me, that's obviously through entertainment, through being a bit of an idiot, being a bit of a fool, doing the social media stuff with, TikToks
And being
and
on
things like
here
that,
with me,
is
Martin Cowan, on Movie Probe.
I'm being on here on Movie Probe, yep, and doing all the different stuff, like hosting at Fuse events, and DJing, and all that kind of stuff. So quizzes that we do. But yeah, I think that's a kind of good spot to end it there. Well, to give this film a rating, I would probably give it, well, I say probably, I would definitely give it the 11 out of 10.
The 11.
The golden 11 out of 10.
The golden.
Yep.
I believe. Am I right in saying that 11 out of 10 can only be given to one film? It's so high.
Yeah, why not? That's not something we've discussed.
We've not.
But yeah, why
We've not discussed this, but
well,
yeah.
well. Here's the thing. Do you want me to rate it as an actual film, or do you want me to rate it as?
No, I want you to rate it
significance?
personally. I don't want to look at it from a critical angle.
Yeah.
From what it means to you. Where do you rank it in your films?
Then yeah, 11.
Awesome,
11.
Fantastic.
So.
Me personally, I think it's an amazing film, amazing musical. I believe it's something like the first original musical that they've made, that a studio's made in a long, long time.
Yeah, definitely.
Hugely successful. And as you say, for me, just the music alone, not going into anything else, but the music alone is so amazing. I believe it was written by the people who wrote the music for La La Land, I believe.
Yeah, Pasek and Paul.
Yeah, and the music's just phenomenal, and there's so many different things you can relate. I can relate personally with different different occasions and different things and different songs mean different things to me. So much that I can relate to it. I love this film, and I would definitely give it a solid 9 out of 10, which is very, very high.
9.
9. Absolutely love it. Love the film. Fantastic.
Cool. And next week, what are we doing? What have you got for me?
Now,
what am I going to watch?
Yeah, so this I was very tossing up what to pick for this next film.
Okay.
Because
Right,
I don't want to be predictable, but and I
Uh-huh.
want to change things up so we're not covering the same type of films all the time. But at the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
time, I still want it to be a film that I regard really highly. And the film, I'm taking you back. I say taking you back. I'm not going that far. I'm not going to say, oh, we're going to watch a film from the 1920s.
I thought this was a tease. I thought I'm taking you back to the future. Oh.
That would have been clever, and I do love Back to the Future.
Yeah.
However, I am going to pick a film that you have not seen, I believe.
Oh, for goodness sake, why? Okay.
And we're going to review The Matrix.
Oh, right, okay. Right, okay, I can go with that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's the tease for next week.
Okay.
We're doing The Matrix.
So, The Matrix. Wow, yes, that's a film I've not seen, Martin. So
yeah, and I'm really
I'm
really interested to see what you think. I think this film is fantastic, and it's been critically regarded really high.
Yep.
And as you say, I think it was, I can't remember the year, but it was certainly, I think it was 1999, I think, yeah. It's like you say, a bit of an older film. I'm not going to be as cheeky to say, this is an old film, but it is, 20 years old now? So, just over.
21.
So, yeah.
It's legal to drink in America.
Well done. And, as you say, Keanu Reeves, who you kind of like.
I'm warming.
You're warming. And
I've still not seen enough.
You've not seen enough. And this is what I would personally regard as his greatest film. So.
Right, okay. Not Toy Story 4?
Oh, it's a tough one. But no. Okay, his best film as a lead character.
A human.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Cool. So we're doing The Matrix next week.
Okay, that's good. Sounds awesome. The Matrix. Cool. Well, that sounds fantastic. Remember, you guys can, obviously you're listening to us here, but also you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout website, and YouTube.
That's right.
Anyway, you can find your podcasts.
Yeah, basically all the major podcast sites, including Google Podcasts. But if you're interested in, you'd rather listen to us on YouTube, we have a YouTube channel. It is Movie Probe Official. My
nephew is listening to us on YouTube.
Awesome.
Because he doesn't have any of the others, so he's just watched the Star Wars one because he's into Star Wars. So Alex, if you're listening, get to bed. No, I'm joking. Alex, if you're listening, I miss you, buddy. I'll see you soon.
And I'll say hello too. Hello,
fantastic.
Alex. Thanks for listening. We appreciate
it. So that is us for another week. Remember, you can find us on all of those socials. I've been Stewart Ryan Cinnamon. That has been Martin Cowan. And we will see you next week for The Matrix.
See you next week.